We talked about the elements of art being line, shape, color, texture, space, value, and those kind of things. And so today I put down line and color. Line is probably the most fundamental mark that you can make in art. It's the idea that you're using it for a stroke. It's the line, it's the pencil mark that you make on. Here you go, Jordan. So, it is the pencil mark that you put on a piece of paper. Color is probably the most effective element of art to use for emotional content. When I say sad, what is the color you think of?
Blue.
Blue. When I say angry, what is the color you think of?
Red.
Red. So, colors are associated very easily with emotions. So if you want your work of art to have a specific emotional response, you are going to choose your colors very carefully, right? If you want a sad kind of artwork, you're going to choose those blues, those greens, purples, right? Any color with blue in it, you're going to choose that. So, that's one idea. How are we making out? How many people have got vocab done? Close?
I'm getting there. I'm almost done.
You're almost done, John? Mariah, how close? How close are you? You done? Brianna, how close are you? How close are you being done? Almost. Riley, are you done? Chase? Okay. All right. Can you get this handout?
Done.
Okay, good. Get this handout. Let's take a look at this handout. So, the first thing I want to ask you is, what have I told you? There's two kind of parts to art. And what are they? What are the two parts to art? Well, that's sort of a process. Creativity is the process of art, but there are two parts to make a great artwork. What are they?
Emotion.
Close.
Idea.
An idea. Artists start with an idea. Okay? They start with an idea, they get this idea, and then they apply something to it. They add another part to it. What's that other part?
Pigment.
What?
Pigment.
No, that's color. No, you're all kind of talking about the smaller terms under the bigger term that I want. Make it not bad. They use some kind of craft. So they take an idea. They have this idea. They craft, and then they come up with some kind of artwork. Okay? So idea plus craft equals art. So the first step, so what's the first step then in the creative process? And we've kind of talked about this already. What is the first step? What do you have to come up with first?
Idea.
An idea. Perfect. Now for you, I have given you an idea already, right? I've given you the idea. What's the idea that I want you to make your project on?
Pride.
Pride. So that's your idea. You are going to make a project around pride. So, the second step. What was the thing that we did after we kind of thought about the idea, we thought about pride, what was the second thing we made? Thumbnail sketches. Okay, so I want to show you my process for an artwork. All right. So, here's my process. I had a friend, and she was a very good friend, and she succumbed to depression, and she committed suicide about 5 years ago. And we had lost touch as a friend. I had lost touch with this friend, and I felt bad. And during the time, I was pretty upset about it, as you can imagine, right? And I was very sad, and I felt guilty because I had lost touch with her, and couldn't imagine somebody being so sad that they thought, you know what? This is it. I can't go on anymore. And for 5 years, this thing has been haunting me, right? So sadness and guilt had become my idea that was bothering me as an artist. It's been playing around in my head for a while. Okay, so there's my idea, right? Sadness, guilt, depression. That's my idea. I started making some sketches around it. All right, so these are my thumbnail sketches. I was just kind of coming up with ideas, not really thinking in terms of what's good, what's bad. I just had some ideas. At the time, there's a poem. I should have put the poem up for you. Who is J. Alfred Prufrock? There's a poem by Tennyson that I was reading at the time, and I really liked it. Let us, you and I, go walking through the night, and that's one of the lines through the poem. And so I was thinking about that, and so I made some pictures around that. You can see some thumbnail sketches down here. And once I had done that, I started looking for artwork that I liked and styles that I liked. And what do you call it when you take a thumbnail sketch and you start looking for things that help you make your artwork? You go online, you look at pictures. What do we call that?
Searching. Visual research.
Searching, visual research, right? Write that down. That's the next step. This is my visual research, right? I did my visual research. Now, one of the things I wanted to, after I did that, I still wasn't satisfied. I still didn't like it. It wasn't what I wanted. What? Oh, I don't want that.
My cat.
I still didn't, yeah, I kind of tried to make a few little ones, and I didn't like it. But later, last year, I found this video. I was surfing YouTube, and I found this video. And I started watching this video, and I realized, oh, this really appeals to me. This is what I want for my artwork. I watched this and I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. So this became part of my visual research. Okay? I'm just going to stop this now. So that became part of my visual research. That's my visual research. Now, John said the next step was your maquette. Okay? Actually, I don't think there's a C in there. Delete. Delete. I don't think there's a C. Okay, so my next step was to make a maquette. So I made a maquette. Okay, so here's my maquette. All right, so I made a small one. And there are things I like about the maquette, but there are things that I didn't like about the maquette. There were things that I hadn't done right. And so what do you think I did after that?
Another one.
I made another one, right? And I kept making small ones until I got it down. Now, after I've kind of perfected everything, now what am I ready to do? I'm ready to make the masterpiece, right? So, here I am now. Oh man, I do that all the time. Here I am now. I'm ready to make my masterpiece, right? I've done my maquette. I've kind of taken a look at some of the problems that I've had. I've repeated my maquette. And now I'm ready to make my masterpiece. So, what did I do? What's one of the first things I probably would have done, I did with this? I'm ready to make the masterpiece. What's the first element of art? Line. I used a pencil, right? And I drew. So, two ways. Here are two ways. This is the next answer on your little thing there. Here are two ways I use line. All right? The two ways I use line was I did a grid. I made a grid. Okay?
I can't even see.
Yeah, you can't. So, hey, what does that tell you about the quality of line?
How very light.
You want your line work, pencil work, to be very light. Okay? You want it super light. You want to barely be able to see it. So my grid, you can barely see it. How is another way I use line? I drew the picture, right? I drew the shapes. You can't see them because they're really light. I'll just, I'll give you a quick look here. So I drew it really light. Okay? It's super light. Why would I want to draw it so light?
So you can erase, you can say it first.
Yeah, I'm just going to paint right over this. I won't even have to erase it. If I draw it light enough, I don't even have to erase it. Okay. Not light enough, I use grid, I use lines in two ways. To draw lightly the shapes that I want, and to use the grid to help me draw those shapes. Now, shapes. What are shapes used for? They're used to create objects. Okay? Shape is most commonly used to make objects. And you know what? There are really only three basic shapes. And in fact, you could make an argument that there are two. There are only three basic shapes. What do you think those three basic shapes are?
Circles.
Circles are one of them. Now, an oval is just an elongated circle, right? Square, you're right. A square or a rectangle, really, once again, in drawing terms, a rectangle is just an elongated square. And finally, triangles, three-sided shapes. Almost anything in the world, you can draw almost anything in the world using those three shapes. So shapes are used to kind of simplify objects in the world. That's what they're used for. If I was to quickly draw a person, I'm just going to use a pen here so you can see it. I am just using basic shapes to draw a person. Right? And you can see how sketchy I am. But look, these basic shapes, they're just circles, squares. His hand is a circle. Right? And now I can start adding some detail. We'll turn it into Batman here. Real quick. Okay, and you can see just by using basic shapes alone, I'm drawing a person. Well, I'm drawing a cartoon character. Anything in the world you can break down to its most basic shapes. That's what we use shapes for, is to kind of organize what we see, organize objects. Okay, let's begin. I'm going to do this fairly quickly. It should be fairly entertaining. What colors am I going to use for this? What colors do you think I'm going to use for this work?
Black, blue, green.
Black. I'm not going to use green, though green is not a bad idea. I am going to use purple.
Gray.
Take a look here. I'm going to start with my blacks. Just want to make sure Why would I start with my blacks? What's the benefit of starting with my blacks?
You can color over it.
That's right. When I go to paint this, it will show through, won't it? You'll be able to see this very easily, and it won't disappear. So everything that's black, I'm going to do first. I'm going to do all this first. And I'm going to make some quick decisions about my black. So black, what do we call black?
Shade.
Shade, which is, these are all kind of volume terms, right? These are all terms of value, and we have all kinds of values from what to what. What's the range of values that I can have in this picture? Black being the darkest, what's the lightest?
White.
Right. So, I'm going to put in all my black values. Real quick here. You know, coloring, when you were little kids, coloring was kind of a good training ground for painting. It's sort of like beginning of painting, in that, what was one of the first things you did when you were coloring, or you learned to do as a...
Color like one way.
Color one way, yeah, that would be one of them. What's another thing you learned to do?
Coloring the lines.
Yeah, kind of outline it first and then color. Then color in the color within the lines kind of idea. Well, that's good. That's good. That's good practice for painting. Because take a look. What have I done essentially so far?
Big lines. Make the outlines.
Yeah, I've kind of made sure that I can see the outlines so that I can paint within the lines, right? Okay. So now I'm going to move on here. Now I'm going to take I'm going to start putting in some color now. And I'm going to use this purple. I'm going to use this purple as my shadow color. Is it realistic? No, it's not. It's not at all. But what it will do, what will this purple color accomplish more than reality? Why would I choose purple as opposed to a realistic color? Anyone?
It's dark and sad.
There you go. You said the right word right there. It's sad, right? So I've chosen this color because it works for my sad idea, doesn't it? So it works very well. It works for what I want to accomplish the idea more than reality. Remember, my idea is sadness. It's not reality. Okay. Oh, there's a few little colors that I want to put in as well. Got to just do right here. Now, you're beginning to see how I'm using space. And what do you notice about the space right now?
It's empty.
What's empty?
The right.
The right. How much would you say is empty?
Half page.
About half of the page, right? So one of the rules that I use is the rule of thirds. So when I see this, I've divided my page into 3 parts this way. So you can see one part here, one part in the middle, and one part over here, right? And then I've also divided my page into 3 parts this way. And so I have the bottom part, a middle part, and a top part. And what I've considered is that this middle part, this off to the side, is going to take up quite a bit of my page. I'm going to actually make about 2/3 of this be very full. And I'm going to make 1/3 of this to be less full. So the rule of thirds says that it looks way more interesting to have something take up 2/3 of your page off center than it does to have something in the middle. Why do you think that? If I had, here's the original, if I had that right in the middle, what changes?
You have to add more.
I kind of have to add more. What else changes? Mr. Beal, like this, psychologically, I think there's more beyond this page. The story is bigger than this page. By me having it off center, the story is bigger than this page. If I do it in the center, the story's all contained in the page. The picture's all contained here. So this is one of the reasons why I rejected this. Because this lives with outside of the page. So that's one of the artistic considerations that I've made, one of the design things that I want. I'm going to add some more color now. And this time I'm just adding a little bit of, oh, I've got enough here. I'm just going to add a little bit of suggestion of skin tone here, not a whole lot. Remember, I'm not really concerned about reality. I'm more concerned about the the feel of this, right? Much more concerned about that than I am if this is realistic looking or not.